Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News. This is Scott from the Nibiru channel. August 31st, 2017. And ladies and gentlemen, I've been looking at a lot of weather situations over the past 48 hours. And I've been watching this tropical storm Irma very, very closely. And I was waiting for some future track models to come out from NOAA, also the Weather Channel and AccuWeather. But ladies and gentlemen, what I'm seeing from what they are reporting, if you just follow my cursor right here, this is the tropical storm Irma, sitting right off of the coast of Africa right here. They're bringing the track of this tropical storm and soon to be a hurricane very rapidly. They're bringing this storm track in through here into the Caribbean, just south of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. But ladies and gentlemen, what I'm seeing with the steering currents of that storm, tropical storm Irma, soon to be a hurricane, I'm not seeing this track going through the Caribbean. I'm going to show you the future track as I see it with the current wind. If you just take a look at all of the wind, and you can see the direction, and yes, you do see the direction pulling this storm in through this area right through here. But ladies and gentlemen, this all changes very, very rapidly. And right now, with our jet stream just a complete mess, anything at any time is definitely possible. I have a lot of friends of mine that live in South Carolina and in North Carolina, and I have already been on the telephone early this morning after looking at all of this information, and I have forewarned them of a Category 5 hurricane impacting the coastline of South Carolina and North Carolina, approximately by the 9th of September. Now that's all going to depend on a bunch of different circumstances as far as the actual date. But we're looking at about that range between the 7th, 8th, and 9th of September. So there is plenty of time to prepare. The problem is the early track of this storm. And you know, I'm just going to show you what's bothering me. This is the early track of the storm right here, and this is what is being supplied right now to everyone from NOAA. There's their little insignia right there. Now they have this storm actually dipping downward, going through the Virgin Islands, the Caribbean, making its way through here. But I don't see it that way, folks. I see a very, very dangerous situation brewing right now. So we're just going to get out of what NOAA has to say right now. We're going to jump into my model. And folks, I'm going to play this model for you in its future track. And I want you to watch very, very closely where this storm is going to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit play right now. Here's your date down here. Here's your time right here. I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to click on the wind speed, and this is 10 meters above ground. So let me back off a little bit here. And you're going to see the track of this storm. Now this is going to move slowly because it's going hour by hour. And we're just into today. But as this progresses, you're going to see this tropical storm Irma. It's going to be picked up by the normal hurricane currents, the wind currents. And we all know how much they drag these currents, these wind currents, drag these tropical storms and hurricanes up into this area of the East Coast. Florida, all the way up through here, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, the Outer Banks, and also this area of Virginia. But as you can see, folks, you can see what is going to be stirring this storm. It's going to be stirring this up relatively quick. And then it's going to intensify very rapidly. By the time it hits this region over here, folks, it is going to be a Category 5 hurricane. Now, I'm going to show you something here. While this is tracking through, you can see right off the bat. And I'm going to go ahead and just stop this for 1 minute. And we're going to zoom in. I want you to pay very close attention to the wind speeds near the eye wall already. They are already near 95 miles per hour. Very, very tight eye wall. And this is on Sunday, September 3rd at approximately 8 p.m. A very, very well organized hurricane. I mean, this tropical storm Irma is going to turn into a perfectly formed hurricane with a very, very tight eye wall. You know, folks, it's a different story whenever the eye of the hurricane is very, very large. But whenever they're very, very tight, like what you're seeing right here, I'll zoom in a little bit more. You see how tight the eye wall is already. And these winds up here to the north side, these are the winds that are the most destructive. Trust me when I tell you, I know from experience. Living in South Florida for 22 years, in Miami, I have seen my days of hurricanes. Going through Hurricane Andrew was probably one of the scariest points of my life. Being down there and witnessing all of that, and at a very young age. You know, I was just a young man at that point in time, and seeing all of the destruction. And there actually could have been a lot more destruction with Hurricane Andrew, but fortunately it took a jog of about 50 to 60 miles south, and it impacted an area south of the city of Miami where it's basically just open land. But there is one town, city down there, the city of Homestead and the city of Kendall. Those areas were absolutely devastated. But like I said, thank God that, you know, the majority of that land down there is, you know, kind of uninhabited. And a lot of, I don't want to call them farmlands, but just a lot of open, flat land. But what we're looking at here, 99 mile per hour winds already on the 3rd of September. I'm going to go ahead and pan back out. And we can see right here where, now this is going to be Hurricane Irma. But again, it is sitting very, very low right down in here. Now I can see that's probably where they're getting their storm track data, because they're probably watching these currents, these wind currents right here. And they're thinking, okay, well, it's going to bring it right into this area or right into Puerto Rico, possibly the Dominican Republic, anywhere around in here, and then curl up, head into the Gulf of Mexico, and impact the panhandle of Florida. That's probably going to be one of their tracks. But I don't see it that way, and neither does this model. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to play this. We're going to move into Monday morning. Well, all of a sudden, it decided to go bonkers on me. Here we go. Now we're back. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to play this. And now we're going to see this storm. It's starting to make its turn. And this is what's very critical, folks, because these steering wind currents, this is what has always plagued South Florida and this area right here of Georgia, South Carolina, and the poor folks in Wilmington, North Carolina. I mean, they have been hit so many times over so many years in Wilmington, North Carolina. Now, I'm going to stop it right here, and this is Friday, the 8th of September, 8 a.m. Now, you can see the NOAA forecast was bringing it right through this area, relying on these steering currents that you see right here. But that's not what's going to happen. You can already see. I'm going to zoom in here. Let me back up here, and we're going to take a look. Now, look real close at the eye wall. You see how tight that is. Now, naturally, the wind speeds are much, much slower around the eye wall of a hurricane. But as you move to the northern area of this hurricane, you'll see the wind start to pick up. So they're well over 125 miles per hour on Friday, September 8th. Now, I'm not too sure about the precipitation, the amount of water that this hurricane is going to pick up. Now, the water temperatures are still relatively warm, but it seems to me that this hurricane, and it will be a hurricane, Irma, I believe this is going to be a big wind hurricane. We just saw the damage and the flooding down in Texas, Louisiana, and soon to be some of the upper states up above Arkansas, Mississippi. I'm going to get into all of that later on because I've been paying very close attention to river flooding as that storm tracks north. But that's a whole other subject. What I'm trying to do here, folks, is early warning. Early warning for these people that live on the coastline of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Southern Virginia. The potential for catastrophic damage here it's a big one. So we're just going to clip over here to the precipitation. And this is only going to give me a 3-hour total. So you can already see there's a good bit of rain in here. 4, 5, 6 inches over a period of 3 hours. So I don't think that this is going to be a big water maker, a big precipitation hurricane. However, the wind, these wind speeds, okay, and again, this is only 10 meters above ground. So we're just about ground level. You can see 129, 130. I mean, these are going to be heavy winds, and it's going to get worse. Just pay very close attention. Now, we have the hurricane sitting right here on the 8th of September at 8 a.m. Let's go ahead and continue through our track. You can see how it is already being picked up. Now, let me stop this right here. This is 5 a.m. on Saturday morning on the 9th. I want you to pay very close attention to the steering currents. And these are heavy currents of wind right here. This is enough to steer a hurricane, folks. And I'm not showing you the upper level wind speeds Okay, because right now we're only 10 meters above ground. Now, I'm going to go over here and we're going to go up to 1,000 meters above ground, and you can clearly see how those wind speeds, they're a lot higher, and this is more than enough to steer a hurricane. Moving down here, you can see the wind speeds, and as you get closer to the eye wall, 155 miles per hour. Okay, but this is at 1,000 meters. And at 1,000 meters, that is what's going to steer your hurricane. But let's get back down to the surface, because this is where the destruction occurs. So we're going to go back up to 10 meters, and here we are, Saturday morning, 5 a.m., and again, you can see these steering currents right here. We're going to continue with the track. Now, here's the problem. The model stops at 11 a.m. on Saturday the 9th. Okay, I don't have any more information on the steering currents or the track of this hurricane. But as you can clearly see, on Saturday morning at 11 a.m., this hurricane is now sitting right off the coast. Let me center this for you. Sitting right off the coast, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. The impact zone, I believe, will probably be, historically, somewhere around Wilmington, North Carolina. These poor folks, I mean, they've been hit, my God, over the past 100 years. I don't even know how many times, but it's been a lot. As you can see, let's get tighter into this hurricane. On Saturday, September 9th at 11 a.m., getting close to the eye wall on the southern side, you could already see they're up to 100 miles an hour. Here's where the damage occurs. Right here. These are very powerful winds, folks. Very powerful. Now, if we go ahead and move up just a little bit, 500 meters, now you're going to see something totally different. And this is where a lot of the destruction is going to occur. You're looking at 145 miles an hour. Stretching out here, still 120 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour. Just watch my cursor. So anything on this northern side of this hurricane, which is the most destructive, as these winds whip around, this is where your destruction is going to be. So 144 miles per hour, that's catastrophic, folks. That's just absolutely catastrophic. We're going to take a look at the precipitation, and again, this is only going to give me a 3-hour total. As you can see, the darker purple or the darker red, whatever you want to call it there, you're looking at 3-hour totals on the backside, 5 1/4 inches over a 3-hour period. And as that moves in, it's going to keep on pooling moisture. Now, on the 9th, we're already going to have situations here with some pretty big storms that are going to be rolling through the entire Mississippi and Ohio Valley, stretching all the way up through West Virginia into Pennsylvania, and also up into Canada. But this Hurricane Irma is going to be a monster. I do not believe the models that they are showing that is bringing this hurricane, this tropical storm, anywhere near the southern coast of Florida. I believe just by looking at the wind models and the jet stream. Folks, I truly believe that just taking this current of wind right here, just draw a straight line right through it, we're looking at an impact probably once again around Wilmington, North Carolina. You know, the hurricane track, it can be anywhere, folks, depending on these currents. It could head straight into Georgia and South Carolina, or it can be steered right up into the southern parts of North Carolina. But the way that these wind currents are right now, folks, this is not going to be one of those hurricanes that automatically gets sucked up and pulled out into the Atlantic. I wish it would be that case, but I don't think it's going to be that case. I think we're going to see a very, very catastrophic and tragic impact somewhere along the North Carolina, South Carolina coastline. Historically, that is where these hurricanes that form and make their way up here, historically, this is their impact zone. I mean, you can almost see the markers, these little half ovals right here, that have basically been worn out and carved out by hurricanes over the past century. I know I have a lot of subscribers and viewers that live in these areas. They tell me where they live. Hey, Scott, you know, I'm from North Carolina. I'm from South Carolina. This is what I saw. These are my pictures. So, folks, get the word out. Share this video on your Facebook page, on your Twitter, because early warning is something that we definitely need. We've already seen a massively catastrophic situation and event that has occurred in the state of Texas, now Louisiana, and other states are going to be impacted by the river flooding and the rainfall over the next several days, possibly, you know, 5 to 7 days, moving north for the track of what was Hurricane Harvey. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a big wind maker here. This is a bad boy right here. This doesn't look like it's going to be a big water maker. But folks, you know, 100-mile-an-hour winds are still a lot. Now, anything could occur where more cooler air can enter into this hurricane, and then again, more warmer air. We're not out of the woods, folks, as far as the hurricane season goes either. Hurricane season ends in November. Trust me, I know. But we may see this type of activity going all the way through the month of November. Our weather is just absolutely out of control worldwide. That's just a fact. Having more of an early warning system is what everyone needs. You know, I have my thoughts about what has occurred in Texas. You all know what my thoughts are pertaining to Hurricane Harvey. I may form the same thoughts with this newly developing Hurricane Irma. There is so much development and so many people that live along the beautiful coastlines of Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina. I've been to the Outer Banks so many times. I used to vacation up here. Absolutely beautiful area, and it's been devastated numerous times by hurricanes. I guess it just goes with the territory. But this one, folks, I have a feeling that this is probably going to hit land close to a Category 4, possibly a 5. And once again, you can see the steering wind currents. And the steering wind currents, they're going to come from up here. There is nothing, let me show you something. There is nothing moving across as far as the jet stream would go to pick this hurricane up and take it out to the Atlantic. That's what we always look for. We always look for these currents coming across here, the jet stream, and pulling the hurricane up, pulling it right across up into the northern Atlantic. It's just not going to happen this time. So by Saturday morning, by 11 a.m., anybody living on the East Coast from, I would say, Virginia, southern Maryland, all the way down to the Georgia, Florida border. I mean, start paying attention to what's happening right now. Now, I'm going to keep track of this storm because I have a bad feeling that, again, this is going to be a Category 4, Category 5 hurricane impacting the southern East Coast, or possibly the middle of the East Coast of the United States, between South Carolina and North Carolina. And again, folks, you know, I'm just not making this up. Historically, that's where these hurricanes make their landfall. And once again, Wilmington, North Carolina, I feel for these folks because over the years, they have taken a pounding over the past 100 years. Right there. There's Wilmington. Right there. They've had so many hurricanes make landfall in all of these areas. A lot of islands, the outer banks of these areas. And you could see over the years how, you know, hurricanes have basically carved out their signature through here. Moving up into South Carolina. Myrtle Beach. Anybody down in Myrtle Beach around this time? Heads up. That's all I got to say. You know, anybody out here, anybody in the Outer Banks, beware. Now, another big problem is, as you see these steering currents right here, this will allow this hurricane to move further inland. If you just pay attention, just pay close attention what you're seeing here, that has enough potential to drag this hurricane directly inland. What you see inland, you see a lot of cities. Fayetteville, North Carolina, Raleigh, Durham, Greensboro, and as far in as Charlotte. Moving further into South Carolina, you can see, well, here's Charleston, but you can see that this hurricane can make its way and impact Columbia. Very, very quickly, folks. Very quickly. I've been studying hurricanes for a long, long time. You know, living in South Florida, you have to pay attention to hurricanes. You just have to. A lot of people maybe did not heed the warning in the Houston area. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm warning you right now. Please take the warning. Start getting yourself prepared now. If you live anywhere from Jacksonville to the southern Virginia coast, right up here, anywhere within this area, heed my warning. If you don't live in that area, but you have friends and you have family members that live in this area, pick up the phone, give them a call, and say, hey, listen, do you know what's happening out in the Atlantic right now? There's a huge possibility that you have a Category 5 hurricane coming your way. Forewarning someone is the best thing that you can do. You know, folks, even if this hurricane ends up skirting the coast, at wind speeds of well over 100 miles an hour, it is going to cause a lot of storm surge into these areas. These are not mountainous areas. These are basically all beach coast area. I'm hoping and praying that I'm wrong. But either way, you know, looking at the NOAA models, with bringing that hurricane in either through here, through the Florida Straits, or even bringing it through here and up into the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. With these steering currents, it would impact somewhere along the Panhandle, Tampa, the Tallahassee, Pensacola, anywhere around in this area. But folks, I just don't see that happening. All of the steering currents, everything that I'm seeing is bringing it directly into the southern east coast of the United States. Oh, I would probably say sometime between Saturday and Sunday night, possibly Monday morning. And that would be around the 10th or 11th of September. So we are not even into the month of September. And we're going to be on watch for the first 10 days of September 2017. Hurricane Irma, Category 5, possibly impacting anywhere between South Carolina and the North Carolina coast. So once again, folks, if you have anybody that lives in these areas, warn them. Tell them to start paying attention to what's going on. Do not get stuck at the last moment. You may regret that. I'm going to continue to have updates on this just about every single day because I think it is very, very important that we pay very close attention to this storm. You can see, I'm just going to show you one more time. You can see how tight. I mean, it doesn't even have an eye wall anymore. Doesn't seem like it's going to be a big rain maker, but it definitely seems like it's going to be a big wind maker. Now, probably within the next 12 to 24 hours, I will be able to get more of a future track on this storm past Saturday, September 9th at 11 a.m. I'm hoping that I can get at least another 12 hours, and hopefully we can figure out where this impact zone will be. Once again, weather chaos, wild weather happening around the world. Just not in our neck of the woods, folks. It's actually occurring everywhere. With major storm systems all through the Pacific. I mean, if you just look at it. And these are all 3-hour totals of precipitation. Got a pretty good storm front right there moving in. And something that I've noticed, you know, all of these little vortexes popping up. Look at this. This was something that I noticed earlier. Since when do we see these kinds of storms? Almost in the North Pole. I mean, look at that. Look at the wind speeds. And this is, again, this is, you know, 9 days, 10 days out. Pretty crazy. A lot of wild weather everywhere. Looking down here in the south of the equator, I mean, just look at it. Really, really crazy weather. Worldwide, folks, worldwide. Anywhere south of the equator, yeah, you're looking at all kinds of crazy weather. But this situation that's brewing up here in our neck of the woods here in the United States of America, Hurricane Irma, guaranteed Category 5 at some point. we're definitely going to have to watch and see how far this hurricane moves inland. But I wanted to bring everybody up to date on what I'm seeing. And in about an hour, I'm going to be back with another live stream, and I'm going to be showing you some river levels that are peaking as we speak, and that is going to be through all of the area that was affected by Harvey. And let me go back here to today. And once again, I mean, you can see these steering currents of Harvey still moving around in here. And we'll just jump and see what the precipitation is going to be for the next hour. But you can see how these folks are being devastated by these rains. Anywhere from, you know, a half an inch to an inch or over an inch per hour. And folks, there are a lot of rivers. There are so many rivers all up and down the Mississippi River. All of these areas are going to have some kind of flooding, and I've been looking at the information every hour. And for some of these areas, it doesn't look good. Some of these tributaries and rivers, they're very, very small. They're not wide at all, and they cannot handle heavy loads of water that come very, very quickly. They will flood their banks very rapidly. But one good thing, all of this area, all through here, the majority of it is kind of rural and farmland. Not a lot of cities and towns through here. And, you know, I can show you all of that on another model that I have, but I'm going to wait to show all of you that in another live stream. I've been studying it, and you have a lot of open farmlands here, but there are some smaller towns that are near some of these smaller rivers, and they may possibly be impacted. Let's hope not. So the best thing we can do, folks, is to pay very close attention to our weather over the course of the next 10 days. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Probably within the next hour or so, I will be back with another live stream, and we're going to be discussing these rivers up and down the Mississippi River, and we're going to be checking their flood levels. So make sure you stay tuned. This is Scott from Planet X News and the Nibiru channel. Thank you for watching.